Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, St. Charles Parish Housing Authority for Tuesday, June 24th. The time is now 6 p.m. I now call the meeting to order. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our first agenda item this evening is review and approval of our agenda. Do we have a motion from the board? Ms. Stiggs.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
All right, thank you, Ms. Stiggs. Ms. Stiggs has moved to approve the agenda, and that is seconded by Mr. Woods. Please cast your votes. All right, that passes. Next agenda item this evening is review and approval of the board meeting minutes from May 27th, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve? Ms. Diggs.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the May 27, 2025 meeting.
All right, thank you, Ms. Diggs. Ms. Diggs has moved to approve the meeting minutes from May 27th, 2025, and that is seconded by Commissioner Joseph.
I gave him this thing to do what I wanted to do, but I do want to make a correction. Previous vote on the floor agenda. What do I need to do to get out of that? Is it just me? Okay.
All right.
Perfect. All
right, Commissioner Woods.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make one correction, even though I don't have minutes in front of me right now. On page 9 of the minutes, there's a section in there where Mr. Jackson was answering me, but he is like he was talking to himself. It says Mr. Jackson assured Commissioner Jackson.
On what page is that?
I think that's page 9.
Let's see. Is it? It says June 24th. Oh, 9's are here.
Oh, okay, at the top. Sorry.
Okay, it formatted my page. It's weird.
Yeah.
So we're at.
It's right at the top now.
Right here?
Yes. That's right now.
Okay, so it should read Mr. Jackson assured Commissioner Woods.
Woods, correct.
All right. Yeah. If there's no opposition to stopping the motion that was made, we'll take this correction under advisement from Commissioner Woods and call for a motion to approve the minutes with the amendment made by Commissioner Woods. Do we have a motion to approve as amended? Commissioner Joseph. All right, we have a motion to approve as amended from Commissioner Joseph. Do we have a second? Commissioner Diggs has seconded. Please cast your vote. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll open for public comment for our agenda items. If there's anyone here that wishes to speak on our agenda items this evening, you may come forward now. There is a 3-minute time limit per public comment. Please state your name and address when you come forward. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. This time we'll now present Paul Rogers from 76 Strategies for our financial reporting. Mr. Rogers, welcome this evening.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Paul Rogers. I work for 76 Strategies Group, as was stated. I am the fee accounting of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority. We've been contracted with St. Charles for a little while now, for a couple of months, and assisted with the audit of fiscal year 2024, and have been working through 2025. The financials themselves are comprised of low rent Section 8 separate programs with an interfund that we keep track of. Just like everything else, statement of net positions, profit and loss statement, all of the things, general ledger, the bank reconciliation that we keep monthly, and then some sub ledgers that we have internally that we provide to the auditor. I think the financial statements that's on the agenda today that we're discussing is May's financials. And then also we report the VMS on a monthly basis as required by HUD. The VMS is Voucher Management System. That is that we have to report your HAP expenses, your RNP and UNP balances, which is unrestricted net position and restricted net position. So that way HUD can continue to fund the housing authority for the voucher management program. That's kind of how they keep track of all of that. But all that's pretty much on a monthly basis. And again, bank reconciliations and all those kind of things. I'm not going to go too deep into it unless there's a question. I will say that I think the first couple of pages of the agenda that I see is the interfund. So an interfund is a due to, due from. That's pretty much what it is. Someone owes you money, someone pays like a loan. That's pretty much what it is. So one program owes the other program money. That's pretty much how it works. The interfund has been, I think, built up for a while now. I don't know if anyone really analyzed it in the past. We have currently, and there's a lot of things that Mr. Jedediah, Executive Director of the Housing Authority, and I have reviewed and are going to be discussing in the future before the year ends so we can get some things kind of cleared up on that. I think the next couple of pages is the bank reconciliation. Any questions on the interfund before I move on?
Mr. Woods?
Well, I'm glad to just see that I'm glad to see that we are tracking at least.
Yes.
At least now that it certainly was a time that we weren't tracking it at all.
I don't think you were. If I'm being honest. There's a spreadsheet, and again, there's the spreadsheet on page. I didn't mean to cut you off. There's a spreadsheet on page 3. On page 15. It's the third page from the interfund. Those two GLs. That you can see we actually have a subledger where we're keeping track of each check, each calculation, and kind of how that works, as well as the prorated percentages that have been said to us or have been informed to us that I think needs to be again tweaked. And again, that's a conversation that we're going to have with the housing authority specifically.
When you say that, even the interfund things, what causes there a need to do things in a fund?
Indirect overhead. Indirect overhead is the main thing. So, just like anything with indirect overhead. So if it's a direct allocation of expense, that's going to go directly to the housing authority. If it's indirect overhead, one program pays for that expense, right? So the other program has to reimburse for that expense. That's kind of what a due to, due from actually happens, or how it happens. Sometimes there are some housing authorities that have a direct overhead, but that program pays it. Like let's say that there is a office supplies, right? The Section 8 can actually pay that directly as an expense from the Section 8 program. However, sometimes, like if it's maintenance materials, or if it's some sort of contract labor situation where it's kind of all bulked into the same contract, right? Like an auditor, per se. He basically just kind of bills it all in one. And then, so therefore, low rent pays that expense on behalf of Section 8. So therefore, Section 8 has to reimburse low rent for that program, because each expense has to be allocated to that program. Same thing with capital funds. Same idea with capital funds. Capital funds are a separate program in itself. Usually doesn't have an interfund, but a separate program within itself. So did I answer the question?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you did. Because again, you said office supplies is something that low rent and Section 8 uses, so you kind of split the two.
Yeah.
And then you track whatever.
Yeah. You basically just kind of, like I said, we have a subledger where we track it all.
Well, with that, I'm just glad to see that is happening.
Yeah, and again, there's going to be a specific conversation regarding the interfund before the year ends up with the housing authority, because I just feel like there's some things in there that may have gotten in the past applied that needs to be reviewed.
Yeah, and I would like to just comment on what was just said. I know there was something to the effect said that, we weren't doing anything with it. And that may be true of different parties that were responsible for the interfund, but the board has asked questions in the past without getting satisfactory answers. So we're glad that you're here this evening and able to answer those questions, because
I
obviously it was not your firm or you that was involved in the past. So we're glad to have you on board, and we do appreciate you being able to review this and find the answers to the questions that we've been asking for a long time.
I appreciate that. And then I do apologize for speaking on a global situation, but yes, I do think that some sort of like needling needs to happen, some specifics. Any other question regarding the interfund?
No, sir.
Okay. I think the next couple of pages, especially for the low rent financials, is the bank reconciliation. We like to have, so at our office, we do two different bank reconciliations. One we do through PHA Web. That way, in case a housing authority ever decides to jump on PHA, that's what we use internally for our accounting software for housing authorities. Now, sometimes housing authorities will move from their software to PHA Web, whatever the case may be, but they still have that digital copy of that bank reconciliation. We also do an Excel version to where it's more hands-on, and we do that for a checks and balances situation. That way, there's always a checks and balances. If one is off, one is there, and one is off, then we know we made a mistake. But that way we can go back. So it's really more of a checks and balances internally. With the bank reconciliation on both low rent and Section 8, and I'm not going to go too deep in it, we noticed that there's a lot of outstanding checks that need to be reviewed. And we discussed that. Jen and I discussed that. Just the low rent specific, I think if we can verify these voided checks, that these checks are voided, that are outstanding, all the way up to August 2024, it looks as though we may at least get about $80,000 to $90,000 back into the general fund on the book side. Not the bank side, but the book side, because the bank's there. I mean, the bank's balance is there.
Yeah.
So again, it's just some things that need to be reviewed, and also just a conversation needs to be had with the housing authority specifically.
May I ask a question? Because that was going to be one of the things.
Yeah.
So just to follow up in a way to put in some corrective action. I don't know if this is possible, even how it works. I know sometimes I receive checks from institutions or whatever, and it says on it void after 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
So is that something can legally be done, or I guess it is, that we can maybe incorporate on our checks so that at some point we don't have something like, we have something that's outstanding for 3 years or whatever. So is that a way to kind of get people to cash them, and then that way we can, if they don't, we can kind of close out our books and not just be in perpetuated situation?
Side. It's listed on the book side for 3060 in numeric order. It's not on the bank side as outstanding because it cleared the bank. We saw that on 521 on the bank statement. So you also see it on page 23 of the PHA Web bank reconciliation. Again, we do two separate bank reconciliations for checks and balances. That one gives you a more detail of payee description. It says cleared. It's on page 23. Says cleared, gives you the check reference number 3060, gives you the amount 2394.23, and it says the check was dated actually 5/08/2025, Home Depot Credit Services. All right. So the next thing, it is in the cash accounts on page 46 of the general ledger. You'll see where we actually show you a little bit more specific. So it's again 508, the GL. That's what this is. Check number 3060, Home Depot credit. And again, unfortunately, the display, like any other accounting software, the display gets narrow because it wants to sit there and show you as much as they can. It's for maintenance materials, and the amount was $2394.23.
Now, somewhere, I'm going to think it does exist where our agency has communicated to you, say if somebody wanted to see what all these receipts were, what that $2,000 was for, somewhere I'm going to think that exists, right?
Yes, so what we ask our housing, so we each, I don't know how deep you want me to go in the weeds here from the force, but so we have a general checklist that we give to our housing authorities, all right, or our clients. I don't want to say just our clients in general. Now, some is more specific than others, or it's a very general checklist, but some relates to others more than some. So what we ask for in our monthly packets is a copy of the check, a copy of the invoice, and a copy of any receipts that are applicable to that. When we people who are on PHA Web software, they enter that stuff in there in the software. The cool thing about that is that, again, we're on the same software, but the cool thing about the PHA Web software is they don't have to email that to us. They don't have to send that to us anymore. They can actually upload the invoices into the software itself. So that way I can actually, they don't have to send me anything. I can download the checks. I can actually print the checks in PDF form, put it in the file. I can get a check listing in the software. And then if I go through here and say, hey, look, St. Charles Department sewer is 57,000 gallons or whatever, water or whatever the case would be, for $8,000. I really want to see that bill. Then I'll go to that invoice. I can go and find that invoice that's been uploaded into the system, and I can download and look at it.
Now, Mr. Rogers, and you're talking about if a PHA uploads to PHA Web themselves.
Yep.
What on your end, from the financial aspect, I mean, do you go in and check every upload to make sure it's actually the receipts being uploaded or a blank piece of paper? Or
yeah.
Okay. So that's something that you do. There's a check and balance to make sure that. So
what I'm going to do is for any again, so my staff goes through with people who are not on the software that we use. Again, I'm not promoting PHA Web. I want to make sure that's
no right. I just want to make sure the different processes are in place, regardless of what system's being used.
Can I add another little bit of context to that?
Sure.
So through a procurement process, understanding that our current property management software does not have a financial management component, we did a procurement process. PHA Web was the lowest bid that we received. We did sign an agreement because it was under the $30,000 threshold, and we are anticipating beginning on PHA Web in November. Okay. So that was done like late last year. It's just taking them because a lot of housing authorities are switching to them, so we're in line to get converted over. Just as an FYI, and so that will give us the ability to do those uploads, those really remittances too, through the financial system rather than have a lot of the current process that we have in place right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mr. Jackson. And my concern, just I've been involved in multiple businesses where people submit documentation through different forms. And if there's not someone all the software is great if you use it correctly, but you got to have physical eyes to verify that employees and others are submitting the right documents. And then I'm not even talking about fraud or whatever, but carelessness. You scan something upside down and you get a blank sheet.
Yep.
So, and you want to make sure, regardless of the cause of it, you always have the paper backup and where did it come from, and that if we're storing it in the cloud or wherever, that we have the legitimate records when we need them.
So to your point, as it stands right now, all these checks that you guys see in this system, my staffers have hand entered every single one of these.
Okay.
So they've reviewed the check, they've reviewed the backup, so they've hand entered every single thing.
Okay.
And then internally we scan either if we get it tangibly, a hard copy, we scan it all and save it, and everyone, auditor and the housing authority, sees exactly what was provided by the client. We have an info provided by client folder. So everyone, going back to your thing, yes, I've seen them where they're lopsided, like I don't know if the the paper got put in there and they try to pull it out. And so now it's like,
there's a smear of white out on the lens of the thing, and you miss a whole section of the page, whatever it is.
Yeah, we do. We'll look at it and we ask questions. If you actually ask the housing authority, and then so to go not to go back to this in a minute, but to go to your point, my staffer actually has combed through in St. Charles Parish Housing Authority alone with the Section 8 program. Had combed through 108 pages of a VMS report, and literally was like looking line by line and running. We were actually running digital tape, so we actually, like the old school 10 key. We actually have a digital calculator that we actually put on the stuff to where you can kind of see. Like,
God bless you.
So the reason why we do this is because I'm an old school accountant, and again, I was taught by an old school CPA. And so, like, we actually have that. We want to have that because you always want to be able to have the answer to the question.
So so I'm clear, because one of my questions was how does the agency communicate to you? So we can expect in the future with the software that electronically our agency will be downloading whatever it takes, scan loading information to you, no mail, handwritten stuff. We
want to eliminate as much mail as possible. Okay. But at the same time, again, like I said, we usually ask them to scan it. We don't ever want original anything, because we live in an area where there's so many storms. So if something happens in my area and the original's gone, we'll never get back to it. We never ask. We've always said we want to we ask for scans. We do share folders. That way it's easily done to eliminate postage. We've done everything that we can to eliminate cost, overhead in general. But going back to your point, yes, as far as currently communication, we bug the crap out of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority to be put on the record. That's exactly how I want it worded. So,
sounds good.
And that's good. That's what we want to hear. Yeah. Again, corrective action stuff, and so good deal. At least you're communicating.
The last tracking of the check that you asked for is on page 58, where you can see check number 3060 for Home Depot got applied to maintenance operating materials for $2,300.
Okay.
So it was 4 entries for the 3060.
And so, as I understand from you, even each one of those receipts to each of the individual vendors, there's a copy of that.
We requested, we asked for that.
Okay.
And so again, my people have reviewed every single one of these checks. And to go to your point, on page 58, you'll see check number 3079 to Scott Hollingsworth for Liftgate for $6,446. I actually made a note while I was reviewing this earlier today that I want to go back and verify that Liftgate. Is it a fixed asset? Did we actually? I want to go back and look at that invoice specifically. My job as the CPA is pretty much to go through here, and so we have our process is we have a staffer who enters the checks in. We have another staffer who does the journal entries and reviews the check entries. Then we have me who goes back and says, this $6,400 check may be a fixed asset, not an expense.
I'm hoping it is I think it is a fixed asset. But okay.
And more likely than not, if it's $6,400 is a lift gate, it seems like it's actually not a repair for a lift gate. It's actually a lift gate that was installed on the on a truck.
Well,
and if it is, that means it's equipment. It's maintenance equipment.
But good. I'm hearing that you are looking at those details. I know exactly what this lift gate is and what it's about, so we'll let you be the final.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm going to go look at the invoice.
But it's good that you're looking at that. I like hearing that.
Well, I appreciate it.
That's what
we're supposed to do.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
well, I appreciate the compliment, but that's what we're supposed to do.
Thank you, sir.
So, is there any other questions about low rent before I move on to Section 8? All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
So
I'm asking
again,
something.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I want to ask you something on page 36. I have you in front of me, and I'm going to ask you everything.
And you gave him your cell phone number,
Yeah.
so
It shuts off at 7, by the way.
Because this is really the first time we've had a fee person in here literally taking us through all of this. And I'm not trying to just help myself.
No,
but the commissioners and everybody.
That's okay. What page was that again?
Page 36.
36, you said? So, statement of net position? For the low rent section, right?
Yes.
PDF page 36.
So
Okay.
my question was going to be on that page. These financial reports are just kind of a snapshot of where we are at a particular time.
That's what financial reports, yeah,
Okay.
that's what they are.
So that's pretty much saying a statement of net position. That's what our
Balance sheet.
portfolio kind of is. So that's the kind of information. Say if we were trying to consider borrowing something or even participating in a HUD program, this would represent like who we are to a developer or whatever. Would that tell a developer who we are or what are we worth, our values and different things?
There's a couple of things that's involved in that. In like any other, you take out a loan for any bank, right? For personal, for a business, for anything, you need to have some sort of financial reports. You need to have a balance sheet. You need to have a P&L. You need to basically have good equity. You need to have good cash flow. You need to have good working capital. All those kind of things. So going back to what Jedediah and I had discussed, and he had asked for, requested for us to start doing, was quarterly basis, is to give you some ratios. One of them is quick ratio. Is a quick ratio, like a working capital ratio. So it's your current assets less your current liabilities, and to give you a ratio on that. So quarterly, we're going to start doing that. You'll also have that whenever we do the budget. We also incorporate that with the budget. So, and again, you also see on the budget, you can kind of see on our budget revisions, we incorporate a ratio called percentage of income. So basically, what expenses are eating away mostly at your income. So you'll see that on your budget on your budget revision. So you'll see a lot of stuff that I don't know if you've ever gotten before on your budgets. But going back to your question is, statement of net position is like your balance sheet. And that gives you, obviously, your assets, your liabilities, and your equity. So you see what your assets are, your liquid assets, your hard assets, I call, which is your fixed assets, those kind of things. You also see your current assets and such. The next page of the statement of net position, page 37, that's going to be your liabilities, current liabilities, long-term liabilities, and then also your surplus, just like everything else. Working capital, obviously, is your equities, as your current assets less your current liabilities. You can see that you have no loans. So if you're basically an investor or you want to a bank wants to, you want to get out a loan or whatever it could be, they'll see that you have no long-term liabilities. So you have no true debt, right? So that's a good thing. You'll also see that in this situation that your net position is $1.1 million. That actually, your unrestricted net position is $1.1 million. That's really good. You know what I'm saying? Because you really the low rent doesn't get a whole lot of subsidy. So the fact that you actually have 1.1 million. Now, in that section of unrestricted net position or surplus, you see there's something called net investment capital assets. That net investment capital assets is your book value of your assets, your fixed assets. That's really what that is. The reason why we have to segregate that is because HUD paid for your fixed assets. HUD wants to see what that book value is. So that's why that's separated.
So that $3,161,000, that reflects, I'm just trying to figure, does that reflect land depreciation, whatever we own? That's the value of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority at this moment?
Well, going back to what your question is, net assets is assets less liabilities. So the value of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority would technically be the total surplus, which is the three. I don't know if you're referring. There's two $3 million ones. That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Okay. So
okay.
I'll take the higher. No, what?
Well, the 3.1, the $3,123,389.63 total surplus. That's your picture. That's how you look pretty.
That's what I wanted to hear. So as of the date of this report, our whole agency is valued at $3,123,389.60.
So that's going to be your book value of your assets plus your unrestricted net position.
Okay.
And the unrestricted net position is what you need to have 6 months hold of in case the government goes belly up for 6 months.
So in partnering with any development partners, anybody we consider, we can use this number and hopefully change it and get higher. But hey, here's what we work. Here's what you're working with.
And they're going to look at other ratios called working capital, quick ratio, quick cap, those kind of things, liquid stuff. You do have almost $1 million. We'll just say $100,000 shy of $1 million in the bank, so to speak. So that's good. That's liquid cash in the low rent program. And again, that's going to get even nicer whenever we get rid of some of these outstanding checks. And also, your $3,123,389.63 is going to get prettier when we reclassify some of those expenses to CFP, because CFP holds its own. So,
I like that. I'm glad we have that.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you aware of and know with some of and just getting to HUD, the due dates that various reports are due to HUD? I know you do a VMS for us, I think, and turn
monthly.
that in.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, things that are due to HUD, you're aware of those dates and kind of know when they should be in?
So HUD, a couple of answers to that question. HUD normally prints out an annual calendar. They've fallen short in the past, but it's public knowledge. Now HUD's revamped their website, so it's really annoying right now for me. I usually use the search bar right now, but because I don't like their website right now. But there's a lot of things on the website you can get that's public knowledge. All I gotta do is just search for it. But yes, they do have due dates on a calendar that you can download from HUD. We have what's called a PIH portal where we can see a calendar of due dates that we can import to our calendar. So yes, I'm very aware of a lot of the due dates.
Okay.
Example is VMS opens up on the 4th of every month and has to be submitted by the 22nd of every month.
And again, I'm asking the question just for the reason of just that we get things to HUD on time and don't get any hits for being late.
Yes. So yes, my goal always is to pretty much be early. I hate to be on time. Now I do when it comes to FDS, there is a short window. And unfortunately, with September year ends, you guys are thrown into an area where there's a lot of holidays. So that kind of eats away at some of the stuff. So as long as we get the information back quickly and communicate with the housing authority, we usually get that done timely. So SDS, the unaudited FDS submission. Now, Louisiana has, it's a twofold situation for Louisiana. The audit has to be reported to LLA, which Louisiana Legislative Auditor, within 6 months of the due date of the fiscal year. Federal is within 9 months of the fiscal year. So that's why September year ends have until June 30th, 2020, in this example, 2025, to submit their FDS.
Again, I'm just getting you on record that you know when those dates are, and he knows when those dates are, so we won't have any hits or negative things because something was in late or whatever.
Oh, yeah, and I also get notifications from HUD themselves. I'm on their newsletter. So, and also, PHA Web also has a screenshot from the beginning that shows you due dates and notices.
Okay.
So, not plugging them at all because I don't get a kickback from them. So,
And we communicate very well together to make sure that, because there's a VMS side that part of the VMS process that we have to do first in order for Paul to do his part. So we work in tandem to make sure that we meet those deadlines.
and VMS
in
is in
advance
arrears.
as possible. So again,
VMS is in arrears. So that means that like we're in June, right? So it's not due until July.
Gotcha. Okay. That's more.
That's fine.
I know we chatted a little bit today about this, but I'm about to ask, just for the agency, just to have a relation, not the board, I'm just trying to say, having a relationship with you, how often are you scheduled to come out to the agency to do whatever everyday things that you guys do? But is there some way that you can come to the board, say around audit time or something, to annually update us, brief us, just give us the opportunity to personally ask you questions?
Yes. My goal personally is to go to housing authority or go to clients on a one-on-one basis to have conversations both with the housing authority and with the board. That is my goal. This is exactly what I want to happen. I could do teams. I can do whatever is requested of me. Now, again, understand that the travel is costly, so it depends on how much you guys are willing to pretty much throw in there. I also have other clients and that kind of stuff. But yes, I am willing to go to board meetings and have a personal visit, especially during budget times. I think that's a good.
That's what I'm getting at.
A good time to do that.
And Mr. Chairman, we can have a further discussion on this particular thing, but I'm just trying to get him before us, budget time to that.
Well, and another option too that would probably be less expensive
would be
that we
teams.
could do is we could do
Remote.
a Teams meeting or something with the finance committee.
Okay.
And that way we don't necessarily have to have a full board meeting. He doesn't have to be physically present and do it virtual.
Okay. And the goal is, again, is just to build that relationship, the board and the fee accountant, and of course the everyday daily relationship that you have with the agency. So
Yeah.
I do like hearing that one.
Yeah, we have several meetings with other clients via virtual.
Okay.
Great. Anything else, Mr. Woods?
I think that's all the stuff I had. I had the specific numbers I think we can figure out. We're just trying to generally understand the process.
Okay.
So anything particularly in financial situation, anything that you noticed in our current finances that the board might need to know about, good or bad, or just
Really and
something
truly,
we should look out for or whatever?
What we've talked about, I think the interfund needs to be reviewed, and that's what we've already. Basically, I'm telling you things that I've already spoken to the housing authority about, which is the interfund, which is the bank reconciliations, the outstanding checks, which is again, and communicating with Jedediah, which is those snapshots that we've now incorporated, which is the quarterly Menard calculations and those ratios that we talked about. I think that's pretty much globally on both low rent and Section 8 is what we discussed, and that's the only thing that kind of piques my interest, so to speak. I don't see anything outside of that. I think once we get a hand on those things, it'll actually make the financials look a little better. I don't want to say a little better, but better. Like I said, I do think that on the Section 8 bank reconciliation, I think we can at least, your outstanding checks right now are $32,000 according to this. I think roughly about $20,000 of that is what needs to be cleared off the bank and voided. A lot of this stuff is like $4 half checks, $5 half checks. If they haven't cashed them in September 2020, they're not going to cash that $5.
Gotcha.
So, and I do think putting that disclaimer on the check itself is warranted, just with the idea that the bank may or may not still accept it. So, do you have any questions about Section 8? I mean, I can keep going, but I think that we've kind of covered it all.
For me, I mean, I think I've got a better grip on the process and
Yeah.
how to go in there and find things. And so I don't have anything particularly on numbers in Section 8.
Okay.
I don't.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
And maybe it's not to you. Do we pay anyone electronically, or does it have to be paper check?
We do have the option. The board gave gave our agency the option of doing electronic or paper. It really just depends on what method the payee would, or the vendor would, be able to receive. Yes. And we have shifted some of our payments to ACH.
Okay.
Yes.
Any additional questions from the board?
Thank you so much for coming out. It was nice meeting you, and thank you for all the work that you did for us to get us current and all of that. You've been working really hard for our agency, so I really appreciate it. Thank you for answering all my questions.
You're welcome. Well, thanks to Jedediah, because he's really really helped us out to try to get a lot of information.
The reports and the timeliness of the reports has been truly a help to the board. It's something we've been looking for a long time, so we do appreciate that. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add this evening? Or
No.
well, we thank you for what the work you've done so far, for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And thank you guys for listening and for not falling asleep.
Thank you,
I
Paul.
wonder that was 7:30 or 10:30 that cut off for that phone.
7.
For you,
Gonna build a special rule.
Yeah.
That is 2:00 in the afternoon.
All right. Again, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. We
Thank you
appreciate
guys. Jedediah, you and I will kind of discuss this a little bit further as far as what I'm going to review.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you. Sir.
And thank you to Sherish, too, as well as Tanisha, for all the work that you all do to support us.
Thank you for that.
All right. The next agenda item this evening is the review and acceptance of our financial reporting for May 2025. Is there any board discussion or a motion from the board? Mr. Woods.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the financials as presented. They are. Thank you. I make a motion that we accept the financials as presented. They are current, and so I make that motion.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Woods. Mr. Woods has moved to accept the financials as presented, making note that they are current. Do we have a second? Ms. Diggs has seconded. Please cast your votes. All right, that passes. Our next agenda item is the Executive Director's Report. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. My computer just shut down.
Mine too.
Mine was doing the same thing.
So
I
please
think everybody.
give me one moment to
Take
let
your
it
time.
boot
Mine
back
just
up.
did too.
Yeah.
We did ask. We have asked ACT to look into that.
Do any board members have any reason for Mr. Paul to stay? You're good.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
It was nice talking to him. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, Paul.
2 o'clock for him. Don't forget.
All right, we'll do a 5-minute recess while we get some of this technology straightened out. All right, at this time, we'll resume our meeting. Time is 7:05.
It's supposed to. Yeah. Up there.
Okay.
Did what it's supposed to.
Nice. All right. So, Mr. Jackson, why don't you go ahead with your executive director's report?
Good evening, commissioners. I'm about to say good afternoon. We hope that everyone is doing well on tonight. And again, we want to thank you, our commissioners, our residents, and our stakeholders for their support and the guidance that you provide of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority. In your board packet tonight, we have the May 2025 low rent report, which can be found on page 95 in your packets. Page 95 in your packets. And just to give you a rundown of this report, for the month of May, we collected $13,605 in rent. Of the 129 units that we have in our property, across all of our properties, 46 are currently leased up, 70 are on mod, and 13 are on vacant status. I would like to just to let the board know on number 7 of that list of vacancies, Unit 254, that should read currently in repair, because that is the burn unit. So we do have that unit is not yet move-in ready, but all of the other statuses align with what we have internally in our records, including on page 96 and 97. We have our listing of mod units, which include units at the Hanville des Allemands as well as the boutique property. On page 98, we wanted to let the board know that of our waiting list, we have 260 applicants on the old waiting list that we're currently still pulling from, as well as 78 applicants from the new waiting list that we are still pulling from. We mailed out 5 waiting list letters, and through the month of May, we had 16 work orders that were started and completed in a timely manner, and we have 1 new lease-up new admissions unit 213. And in your packet from page 99 to page 99 to page 114, we have our work order summaries, which is the reconciled work orders for the month of May. Beginning on page 115, we have the repair plan for the vacant units, and just to let the board know, these dates do change from time to time, especially on the units that are not complete. But we do anticipate, and just as a point of note, through the month of June, we did lease up Unit 245, even though it's not reflected on the report. We did lease up Unit 245. So currently, right now, we do actually have 47 units leased up, with a number of planned move-ins between now and the middle of July. So again, we are working to increase our occupancy rate, which, according to the report, this month was 77%, to make sure that we meet our intended goal of 85% by September the 30th, and we don't see an issue on the horizon with us being able to meet that goal as required by HUD.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I want to think that everything that's in green says it's completed.
Mm-hmm.
So can we expect we'll have residents in those units in 30 days, 60 days?
It really depends on the unit. It depends on the waiting list. We have more folks on our waiting list for 1-bedroom units than we do for 3- and 4-bedroom units. That is why we had to go out and do a new waiting list. So that new waiting list largely is where we're pulling those new 3- and 4-bedroom families from. So to say that a unit's been moving ready for a couple of months now, it's not necessarily for a lack of trying. It's being able to find the families. And we also have unfortunately run into an issue recently where we've been mailing out the waiting list letters, and folks thought that they were, even though it's clearly described the waiting list as a low rent waiting list, folks thought that it was a Section 8 waiting list. So we're also working to deal with that whatever breakdown of the folks that are in that pool.
Just for clarity, you said so on the waiting list, some of the people at the top may need 3-4 bedrooms. We have 1 bedrooms. So
Other way around.
okay. So,
I'm sorry.
So we have people who are on waiting list for 1 bedrooms, and we have 3 and 4 bedrooms available.
Yes.
Okay, got you on that. So with this new waiting list, we're gonna go and see who people who need the 3 and 4 bedrooms. Are there enough people who need that to fill these things up?
Yes. Yes.
And
we have pending lease ups for, I believe, 3 of the ones that are in green. I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but because we had 4 that we were working on, 1 that's leased up, 3 that we're in the process of getting leased up. And again, it is a process, because it's not just saying, hey, I'd love to live here. You have to meet the income requirements, any sort of other requirements that you may have to meet on the front end, the documentation, that piece and part. So yes. But we do anticipate having a good number of, at least 85% of all available units leased up by September 30th, and we will definitely meet that goal within the next couple of months.
That's 60-something days. All right. Okay. So at least, again, I'm trying to do more about numbers and process. So at least there is a process now to get people into all those units. Okay, great. Thank you, sir.
So that portion of the report included, like I mentioned, the work order records, as well as the repair plans to bring the units up to occupied status that are currently move-in ready. The next report that we have is the May 2025 HCV report that can be found on page 118. This is for general activity for HCV through May 31st, 2025, and that can be found on page 118. We have 2 port outs searching for housing, 7 port outs leased up, 15 that we are port-ins that we're billing for, and 0 port-ins searching for housing. At the end of the month of May, we had 2 EOPs, 2 folks that fell off of the program. For the month of May, as it relates to HCV payments going out, $268,742.68, and that includes the half the outgoing and any administrative fees. And for the income through May 31st, we had $273,718.89, which includes the incoming portable payments, and any administrative income from HUD. We currently, in terms of our searching and landlord statistics, we have 8 voucher holders in-house searching, and we have 1 new admission leased up from the waiting list. We did not have any new landlords this month added to the program. Currently, we have 247 vouchers leased up, with 9 residents currently searching, or 9 voucher holders searching.
When you say in-house searching, that's people who have our vouchers.
Yes. Yes, they're just looking for a unit.
Thank you.
Yes. We also included beginning on page 120, the April VMS report. Because of the timing of the board meetings, as well as the deliverable dates that we have established to get you all the information, most times we will be 2 months behind in terms of providing that to the board in your packet. But we did submit the May HCV VMS timely, and we just, again, it wasn't ready by the time the packets for the board were created. So we are currently up to date on our VMS submissions. We do have an executive session tonight that we're asking the board enter into after this report. We also have 4 resolutions being considered by the board. The first being a resolution authorizing the letting of an RFP to replace casted metal steps on our property that are currently in need of repair. The second resolution is to consider and approve the submission of our PHA 5-year plan, the FY25 annual plan, and the Capital Fund Action Plan for 2025-2029. The 5-year plan is a strategic plan for the agency with specific goals around the RAD Section 18 blend repositioning strategy, introducing social service components into our operations, and professional development opportunities to increase for our staff and board. As we are a troubled agency, our FY25 plan this year consists of a civil rights certification, and our 25-29 Capital Fund Action Plan addresses maintenance, travel, and other agency capital fund priorities, including agency set-asides for the upcoming RAD Section 18 repositioning. The third resolution deals with, and we did have the public hearing for those plans prior to this meeting, and we did advertise the plans for 45 days per HUD regulations on our website, as well as in the Herald Guide, and we again made public comment available prior to this meeting for those plans. The third resolution deals with the authorization or execution of the first-year extension of the executive director's employment contract with the agency. As it is a personnel matter, it will be one of the items that will be discussed in executive session, but a vote of the board needs to be taken per the contract to consider the extension on the anniversary date of the contract. And the fourth and final resolution is a resolution authorizing the creation of a benefits policy. This policy is necessary to be clear on the benefits that the agency is providing to the employees from onboarding to separation. Also, it specifically explains who is responsible for what part of the benefits process. Lastly, for the board, I will be providing an annual report to the Parish Council at its council meeting on July 7th as mandated by ordinance. Commissioners and the general public are more than welcome to attend or tune in, and I will make the presentation that I'm giving to the council available to the commissioners prior to delivering it. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any questions or comments from the commissioners? All right. At this time, our agenda calls for executive session, which was recommended by our executive director. So do we have a motion from the board to move into executive session?
Mr. Chair, I move that we move into executive session.
All right. And do we have a second? All right. Mr. Joseph has seconded. Please cast your votes. All right. That passes. The time is now 7:17, and we'll move into executive session. All right, welcome back, everybody. The time is now 8:24. Do we have a motion from the board to move out of executive session and resume the regular meeting? Mr. Woods.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we move out of the executive session and return to our regular meeting.
All right, so moved by Commissioner Woods to move out of executive session. That's been seconded by Ms. Diggs. Please cast your vote. That passes with all board members present voting in the affirmative. The time is 8:24, and we are now back into our regular meeting. All right, let's see. At this time, our agenda is our resolutions. Our first resolution before us is Resolution 25-06-24-01, a resolution approving and adopting to advertise a request for proposals to repair steps at the Boutique property. We'll now open for public comment. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there any board discussion? Mr. Woods.
I just want to say that I've seen those stairs. It's been an issue for a long time. Safety issues and everything else, all of that considered, I just think it's something that we need to do and get it done and just eliminate that risk.
All right, thank you, Mr. Woods. So the purpose of this resolution is to repair the steps. It does require approval and adoption by the Board of Commissioners, and the staff recommends board approval and adoption of the proposed resolution to advertise for an RFP to select qualified and responsive vendor to repair steps at the boutique property. Mr. Woods has moved to review and approval of resolution. What number is it? Resolution 250624-01. Do we have a second? Ms. Diggs has seconded. Please cast your vote. All right, Resolution 25062401, resolution of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approving and adopting resolution to advertise an RFP to select a qualified and responsive vendor to repair steps at the boutique property. The undersigned, being the duly elected Secretary of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, hereby certifies that by written consent, the following resolution was duly adopted, whereas St. Charles Parish Housing Authority is a public housing agency established pursuant to Louisiana law. Whereas the mission of the authority is to promote adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a suitable living environment free from discrimination. And whereas the authority must from time to time let an advertisement of a request for proposal or RFP to select a qualified and responsive vendor to complete work on behalf of the authority. And whereas the authority, in line with its procurement policy, authorizes executive director or their designee to let an advertisement of RFP to allow the Board of Commissioners to select a qualified and responsive vendor to repair steps at the boutique property. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the proposed resolution to advertise an RFP to select a qualified and responsive vendor to repair steps at the boutique property is hereby approved and adopted. The above resolution was read in full. Roll was called on adoption of the same, and the vote was unanimous of all board members present. All right. Next resolution before us this evening is Resolution 25062402, a resolution of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approving and adopting a resolution approving the submission of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority 5-year plan, the fiscal year 25 annual plan, and the 2025 to 2029 CFP action plan. Approval and adoption of this plan is required to effectuate the approvals to ensure compliance with HUD regulatory provisions. Staff recommends board approval and adoption of the submission of the 5-year plan, the fiscal year 25 annual plan, and the 2025-2029 CFP plan by way of the corresponding resolution. Let me open for public comment. Seeing no public comment is closed. Is there any board discussion? Do we have a motion from the board? Ms. Diggs.
I'd like to make a motion on resolution 250624-02, approving and adopting resolution approving the submission of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority 5-year plan and FY 25 annual plan and the 2025 to 2029 CPF action plan.
All right, thank you, Ms. Diggs. Ms. Diggs has moved to approve Resolution 25062402, approving and adopting resolution approving the submission of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority 5-year plan, fiscal year 25 annual plan, and the 2025 to 2029 CFP action plan. That motion has been seconded by Commissioner Woods. Please cast your votes. All right, thank you. That passes. Resolution 2506-2402, the undersigned being the duly elected Secretary of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, hereby certifies that by written consent, the following resolution was duly adopted, whereas the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority is a public housing agency established pursuant to Louisiana law, and whereas the mission of the authority is to promote adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a suitable living environment free from discrimination, and whereas the proposed 5-year plan, the proposed fiscal year 25 annual PHA plan, and the proposed 2025 to 2029 capital fund action plan provides a ready source for interested parties to locate basic PHA policies, rules, plans, and requirements concerning PHA's operations, programs, services, including changes to these policies' operational priorities, and informs HUD families served by the PHA and members of the public of the PHA's mission, the goals, and objectives for serving the needs of low-income, very low-income, and extremely low-income families. And whereas the staff properly advertised for public comment and prepared the attached 5-year plan, the attached fiscal year 25 annual plan, and the attached 2025 to 2029 capital fund action plan, and requests the Board of Commissioners approval and adoption for submission of the same, and now therefore be it resolved that the 5-year plan, the fiscal year 25 annual plan, and the 2025 to 2029 capital fund action plan for the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority is hereby approved and adopted for implementation. The above resolution was read in full. Roll was called on adoption of same, and the vote was unanimous of all board members present. All right, let's see.
Next one is on page 172.
172.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Good ways down. Okay. Good deal. All right. Next agenda item is Resolution 2506-2403. A resolution of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approving and adopting a resolution to approve extension number 1 of the Executive Director's employment contract. At this time, we'll open for public comment. Seeing none, public comment is closed. The approval and adoption of the resolution by Board of Commissioners is required to ratify the hire and affirm that the Executive Director's extension number 1 of the employment contract is approved. Jedediah Jackson, Executive Director of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, is authorized to act on behalf of the St. Charles Housing Authority and its Board of Commissioners in all related matters. Recommendation: staff recommends board approval and adoption of this resolution by way of the attached. Any board discussion? Any motion by the board? Mr. Woods.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve Resolution 25-06-2403, approving and adopting a resolution to approve extension number 1 of the Executive Director's employment contract for 2025-2026 with amendments.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Woods. Mr. Woods has moved to approve the contract for the Executive Director, Resolution 2506-2403 with amendments. Do we have a second? Ms. Joseph says second. Please cast your votes. All right, and that passes. Resolution 2506-2403, resolution of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approving and adopting a resolution to approve extension number 1 of the Executive Director's employment contract for 2025-2026. The undersigned, being the duly elected Secretary of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, hereby certifies that by written consent the following resolution was duly adopted. St. Charles Parish Housing Authority is a public housing agency established pursuant to Louisiana law. And whereas the mission of the authority is to promote adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a suitable living environment free from discrimination, and whereas it is necessary to ratify and affirm the continued employment of the executive director of the authority, Jedediah Jackson, and whereas Jedediah Jackson entered into an employment contract with the authority on June 29, 2024, and began his role as the executive director of the authority on July 1st, 2024, and whereas Jedediah Jackson, through the approval of the resolution extension number 1 of his employment contract, is approved, and Jedediah Jackson will continue for 1 year from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 as the executive director of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority per the terms and conditions of the employment contract, and whereas the Board of Commissioners of the authority seeks to approve exemption number 1 of the aforementioned contract through this resolution and authorize via this resolution Jedediah Jackson as the executive director of the authority to act on behalf of the authority as directed by the board of directors, and gives him the ability to represent the authority in all matters, including but not limited to signatory authority on contracts and all binding agreements. Now therefore be it resolved that the proposed resolution approving continued employment of Jedediah Jackson as executive director of the authority through extension number 1 of his employment contract is hereby approved and adopted. The above resolution was read in full. Roll was called on the adoption of the same, and the vote was as follows. Unanimous consent of all board members present. And congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Our pleasure. Thank you, sir.
All right. Our next, we do have another one, correct? All right. What's that? Okay. Resolution 2506-2404, a resolution of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approving and adopting a resolution for the creation of a St. Charles Parish Housing Authority benefits policy. At this time, I'll open public comment. Seeing no one here for public comment is closed. At this time, let's see. This resolution will allow for the creation of the attached policy governing St. Charles Parish Housing Authority benefits. I don't need to read all these benefits in the record. This will be the policy of the agency regarding the benefits of their employees, and we're adopting it into the record. It is recommended by staff, and it was reviewed and approved by the Finance and Audit Committee, and it's before you this evening for your consideration. Do we have any board discussion?
Mr. Chair, I just want to say that I support this. I think it just brings our agency into compliance and meeting with the standards what other agencies are doing. And we certainly want to show our staff that we appreciate them, support them, and do whatever we can within our means, the financial means of this agency to do the best we can for them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Woods. Any additional discussion from the board? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion from the board? Ms. Diggs.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve and adopting a resolution for the creation of a St. Charles Parish Housing Authority benefit policy.
All right, thank you, Ms. Diggs. Ms. Diggs has moved to approve Resolution 2506-2404, resolution approving and adopting for the creation of a St. Charles Parish Housing Authority benefits policy. Do we have a second? Mr. Joseph is seconded. Please cast your votes. All right, and that passes unanimously by all members present. The undersigned, being the duly elected Secretary of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, hereby certifies that by written consent, the following resolution was duly adopted. Whereas the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority is a public housing agency established pursuant to Louisiana law, and whereas the mission of the authority is to promote adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a suitable living environment free from discrimination, and whereas the authority, as directed by federal, state, and local laws and regulations, must revise its various policies and procedures to ensure compliance and efficiency of process, and whereas the need arises for the agency to create a policy entitled St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Benefits Policy, and whereas the authority and its Board of Commissioners wishes to create the attached St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Benefits Policy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the resolution to create a policy titled the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Benefits Policy is hereby adopted. The above resolution was read in full. Roll was called on the adoption of same, and the vote was unanimous consent of all commissioners present this evening. Right. And at this point, are there any other matters before the board this evening? Seeing none, do we have an update on the RAD Section 8 conversion?
Yes. Good evening again, Commissioners. On today, our PHA plan revision was approved by HUD Field Office, and we got confirmation of that approval. We subsequently contacted Standard Enterprises to ask them to begin uploading the documents to our RAD Section 18 application on the RAD Resource Desk. So we're moving forward in that regard, thankfully. We will be setting another meeting soon with the HUD officials at the recap office to receive continued technical support through the process as they have generously offered. Also, I did provide each commissioner tonight with a draft of our talking points pamphlet, which is available for your review. If you don't have it, I'll give you one. Okay, got it, good deal. And it's a trifold brochure just with simple talking points as it relates to what our ask will be in regards to the meeting the gap financing for the RAD Section 18 application that we'll be submitting with the support of Standard Enterprises.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Mm-hmm.
And it says about the executive director.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Latin I'm reading?
Yeah, it's a draft. Yes, sir. It's definitely a draft. It's a space filler that the vendor that we're using for the graphic design. Don't run that through the Google Translator. I don't know. I have no idea what that says. But yeah, that is a draft. And if you just any sort of information that you want me to add, you can please let me know so that I can get that back to the graphic designer so they can update it, and then we'll be able to print it out on some good paper and have it available to us anytime we have any conversations with stakeholders. So again, just wanted to make sure we're all speaking the same language when it comes to our needs, where we're going with the agency, and the priorities of the repositioning that we're undertaking. Now, this is not RAD Section 18 related, but I would like to let the board know we are one piece away for meeting all of the benchmarks in the recovery agreement that we entered into with HUD. I kind of touched on this earlier, but we have met the financial reporting benchmark with the audited and unaudited submissions. We have met the property condition benchmark by having a passing Inspire score. And the occupancy benchmark for FY24 we met, which was 75%. And again, we're close to meeting the 85% benchmark for FY25. And just to let the board know, that is the benchmark. Our goal is 95%. Because again, it's very difficult in some instances to get 100%, but our goal is at least 95% with the hope of getting to 100% occupancy for our low rent property that we're currently leasing up. And once the FY25 occupancy benchmark is set, I will ask the HUD field office in writing to consider our recovery plan satisfied so that we can move the agency forward. I would also like to let the board know that I spoke with our HUD field office rep again today, and she advised me to Ask REAC for our updated FY24 scores. They provided us on June the 6th with a notification rather, of the FY23 scores, which we had already received. So we would love to have our updated scores as soon as possible. And I think coupling the increase in those scores, which we know is on the way, with the meeting all of the conditions of the recovery agreement, once we have that done by September 30th, we will prayerfully be out of troubled status and into another higher condition status as HUD designates. And that concludes my red Section 18 update.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
And I apologize, my voice is doing something right now.
Did any board members have any questions for Mr. Jackson at this time? All right. At this time, we'll open again for public comment. Seeing no one in the chamber for public comment. Public comment is now closed. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Woods. Ms. Diggs. Excuse me.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion.
To adjourn? All right. Thank you, Ms. Diggs. Ms. Diggs has moved to adjourn. Commissioner Woods has seconded. Please cast your votes. Motion to adjourn passes. Time is 8:47. We are adjourned.